After more than 2 weeks of trial, today a jury found former Belton High student Caysen Allison guilty of criminally negligent homicide.
It's the least severe charge he faced, as the jury found him not guilty of murder and manslaughter. We now go to 6 News reporter Sydney Walker live at the Bell County Justice Complex. Sydney, how was it today?
Yeah, after over 12 hours of deliberation, the jury finally came back with their verdict today at about 10:45 a.m. This comes after they heard from over 20 witnesses, viewed, heard, saw all of the above, all sorts of evidence that led them to believe that Caysen Allison had acted criminally negligent, resulting in the death of Joe Ramirez almost 3 years ago today in that Belton High bathroom. Based on the verdict, the 12 members of the jury believed that the state proved beyond a reasonable doubt that Allison had acted criminally negligent, resulting in the death of Joe Ramirez. After Allison was found guilty, his defense attorney, Zach Boyd, asked the judge if Allison's ankle monitor could be removed. The state objected to this and asked Faulkner to find his bond insufficient. The judge denied both of these requests. Allison faces anywhere from 6 months to 2 years in prison, but we will have to wait until June 16th for that sentencing. When news of a verdict came in, people piled into the courtroom, anxiously awaiting, some even already crying. Allison's defense team acknowledged the high emotions in this case.
This was a hard case, and nobody should ever outlive their child. No human being should have their child die in a violent way. And I'm so sorry for their loss. And the Allison family is so sorry for their loss, because there is no good outcome to this.
When news of a verdict came in, people piled into the courtroom, anxiously awaiting. Before the verdict was read, Judge Faulkner reminded everyone that the court would not allow any verbal outbursts, disrespect, or standing out of seats, regardless of what verdict was read. The jury had been deliberating from 12:15 p.m. last night to about 9 p.m. last night, when they then requested to be sequestered. Before the verdict was read, Judge Faulkner reminded everyone about the rules of the court, like I said earlier, and the jury had been deliberating from 12:15 to about 9 p.m. last night when they requested to be sequestered, but they came back at 9 a.m. today, discussed for about 2 hours, and then arrived at that verdict when they found out that Allison was accused and found guilty of criminal negligence. So, yes.
All right, thanks so much, Sydney.
Well, the verdict comes as a pivotal moment in a case that has drawn intense scrutiny since the fatal stabbing at Belton High School in 2022. The jury had 4 different options under Texas homicide law: acquittal, murder, manslaughter, or criminally negligent homicide.
They chose the least severe of the criminal options, rejecting the state's allegations that Allison intended to kill Ramirez. 6 News reporter Juliana Jackson has more on the legal implications of this verdict. Juliana?
To understand this verdict, it's important to break down the legal differences between these charges. Murder requires intent to kill or cause serious bodily injury. Manslaughter involves recklessly causing death, and while criminally negligent homicide is when someone causes death by taking a substantial and unjustifiable risk that results in death.
Often one of those cases that we refer to as splitting the baby. There were likely people on both sides of the fence. They were given many options.
Self-defense played a pivotal role in the Caysen Allison trial.
The defendant say, yes, I committed the offense. However, I was justified in doing so. So that completely shifts the narrative of the case. We don't have a defendant saying, it wasn't me, I didn't do it.
The jury's verdict suggests that they believed Allison's actions went beyond what a reasonable person would consider necessary self-defense, but did not find he intended to kill Ramirez or acted with conscious disregard for human life. Criminally negligent homicide punishment ranges typically from 180 days to 2 years in a state jail facility. However, there's one factor that could alter Allison's sentence.
If there is an affirmative finding of a deadly weapon, the judge cannot give the defendant probation. So whether or not there is a deadly weapon finding in this case is critically important.
Even though a knife was used in this case, an affirmative finding of a deadly weapon is not automatic. It must be specifically found by either the jury or the judge. Allison has chosen to have Judge Faulkner determine his sentence rather than the jury. Legal analyst Liz Mitchell says this could be a strategic decision.
We have a defendant who has never been involved in the criminal justice system. He is basically set up for a successful life. A jury, it's sometimes harder for jurors to put emotion aside and look just at the facts. With judges, they are looking strictly at the facts.
While many criminal convictions are automatically appealed, appealing this verdict could be dangerous for Allison.
If he appeals the case and it's reversed and remanded, meaning it is sent back to the trial court, the state can try him again, and that means you are rolling the dice and could possibly be convicted of murder the second time around.
Allison will remain free on bond until a sentencing hearing, which is set for June 16th at 9 a.m. At that time, we'll learn whether a deadly weapon finding will be made and whether Allison will serve his sentence on probation or in custody. You can stay updated here on 6 News. In Belton, Juliana Jackson, 6 News.
All right, thanks for explaining all of that for us, Juliana.